Hi everyone, and welcome to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with Wendy K. Laidlaw. Wendy has spent the last 2 years helping women with various stages of endometriosis to heal naturally after putting her condition into remission. After her own healing success from stage 4 endometriosis and adenomyosis, she's inspired to heal others, and her goal is to help some of the 175 million women know that there is another way other than painkillers, drugs, or surgery. This is the place to be for real talk with real people for real results, so you can learn how to heal your endometriosis naturally. Please note that the opinions expressed in this program may represent options, but are not a substitute for proper medical care. Before starting any new healthcare program, we recommend you consult with a health professional.
Hey everyone, it's Wendy K. Laidlaw here, and as always, I hope that this podcast finds you well. Today's podcast is, I think, a very important one to share, but to talk about how endometriosis is not a life sentence. So as we draw close to the end of what has been a somewhat tumultuous year, it is time for a little reflection. The highs, the lows, and the many in-betweens. What worked, what didn't work, and what could have worked better. Who was awesome, who was horrible, and who were the late revealers? What has been learned, what does still need to be learned, and what is in progress? So many questions, and I realise that it's the questions which is the secret. It was the type of questions I was asking myself that ultimately led me to a new and empowering pathway when I was bedridden with endometriosis all those years ago. A pathway that would ultimately lead me to where I am now, celebrating almost 6 years of having put endometriosis and adenomyosis into remission. They said it couldn't be done. Just like Nelson Mandela said, it seems impossible until it's done. And who would have thought? Well, the doctors, for one, didn't think it was possible. When all the painkillers, the drugs and surgery failed me and made me sicker, they said they could do no more. They washed their hands of me. To have those professionals turn and insinuate that I was making up all of my pain only added insult to injury, but also lit a very big fire in my belly. A determination to question and become more curious as to how my body worked, and an almost obsession that there had to be another way. So as we approach a new year, in a few weeks' time, I'm inspired again to share that endometriosis is not a life sentence. It really is not. You have options. As Albert Einstein eloquently stated, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and expect different results. So what are you going to do differently in 2021? Where you are now in your physical and emotional health is as a result of the actions you have taken up until now. Your body totally regenerates every single cell within 12 months, if not earlier. So this time last year, where were you? Were you sick and tired of feeling sick and tired? Did you assume that you were magically going to get better? Or just have you given up hope and feel full of despair? I don't think so, because if you're listening to this and reading this email, then you still have that fire in your belly. Some little ember is still glowing inside, even if most of you feels like you have given up hope. Yet it is to that little ember that I speak today. I remember all too well what it was like to feel full of despair and losing hope day by day. The pain physically and emotionally was so overbearing I feared it might eat me up and swallow me up whole. Yet when I started to learn about how the body worked and what I could do differently, that speck of hope was totally reignited. So I thought I would take some time to encourage you to ponder on what you have done differently this year and what you plan to do even more differently next year. Most of us just keep ploughing through life without giving the direction much thought, or as Tony Robbins says, our lives change in an instant due to some forced, unforeseen circumstances or life event. Bang, we are woken up from our sleepwalking slumber and forced to re-examine what is going on in and around our lives. Endometriosis is not a life sentence, and it really is worth repeating. Do you honestly believe that yourself that that has been duped into the medical marketing machine to believe that you'll be blighted with the condition forever? If you really believe this, it's an important question to ask why. You see, it took me decades and years to figure out that the main 5 poisons, or the 5 Ps, I refer to them as, that need to be addressed. In our quick fix society, we look for that better, faster, more now approach regularly, but fail to recognise that the endometriosis condition is complex, i.e. the 5 Ps, 5 poisons, and needs safe support and guidance for women who have until they fully put the condition into remission. Not guidance from people who pretend that they have mastered the condition, because there's many out there, and nor from people who have never had a period in their lives, nor from people whose motives are purely financial or feed into the falsehood, fairy tales and folklore, i.e. one quick surgery will be a cure-all. It is a repeated fantasy messages like that cause the greatest distress for women. And you may have heard of a very famous influencer called Louis Pasteur, who discovered at a hospital where he worked that the women in one particular ward were not suffering and were not dying after they gave childbirth. So after investigation, he discovered that it was because the doctors and nurses attending to these women were washing their hands. Filled with incredible optimism, he scoured the country for information in libraries and other medical journals, this was the 1800s, to validate his findings. He toured around the UK to share his message, his simple message, which was, if you wash your hands, you will save lives. And guess what? They mocked him. There's a saying, first they laugh at you, then they listen to you, and then they follow. I think that was Gandhi that said that. And if the coronavirus is a reminder about the importance of hand washing, Louis Pasteur would be smiling right now. So what about the 5 Ps? What are they? I refer to them as produce, which is food, products, property, past, and people. I had a lovely lady speak with me the other day, and she said how she'd suffered for over 30 years with endometriosis and had tried every diet but felt like a failure. It is hearing statements like this that keeps me motivated. How on earth can she be a failure when she knows only about 1/5 of the information to heal her body? And even that information about produce or food is askew anyway. There are so many mixed messages about what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat that most women feel despairing about knowing what to eat, and it forces them to feel full of despair again and run to chocolate and sugar for release. So I reassured her she was no failure. How could she be? She was on this call with me. That showed some type of determination and her character. She was taking a new approach and a different form of action. She was questioning what messages she'd been given. She was trusting her intuition and instincts that something just did not ring true with what she's being told by the medical machine. But she only had 1/5 of the information, and we needed to reassess what she was being told about food. And when over 9 to 12 months later she learned about all the other poisons, then only then could she be empowered in a way to finally put the endometriosis condition into remission. And even when we talk about food, there's this general idea that the endo diet is the way forward. But then there are variations of the endo diet when you go online. And my instinctive feeling towards food is to ask yourself, would my great-great-great-granny have eaten this? And if the answer is no, then perhaps it's not good for your body. But more about that another time. The second P or poison is products. You know that there's something like 80,000 different chemicals that our poor bodies are bombarded with and exposed to in a single day. The shampoos, the creams, the makeups are all pumped full of parabens, SLSs and chemicals that our great ancestors that roamed the plains never would have had to deal with. The third P is property. And when I talk about property, I'm talking things like sick building syndrome, electromagnetic fields and Wi-Fi. Again, all attacking the body from different levels, which if you don't have the awareness of, How can you help heal your body? And then there's the two final poisons that, again, are probably really underestimated. The fourth one is past. What is going on in your past that is stored in your cells and in your nervous system that's getting reawakened or reignited or triggered by the people that you're around? Which brings me to the fifth poison, which is people. You probably heard me talk a lot on these podcasts about how there's particularly toxic individuals. And in fact, a lady spoke to me earlier today and she said, this one lady that I have to engage with at work, everybody knows she's toxic. And I thought it was really interesting because so few people are able to put a label or a name or an explanation to the type of people that there are out there. And these people literally should have their forehead stamped with government health warnings on them. They can cause great stress and distress and release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline coursing through the body and trigger the nervous system to constantly be on guard. So when you're thinking about endometriosis and you're just focusing on diet, I hope that you can see that endometriosis is just not that simple where you're talking about one particular element. You're talking about all these other elements that need to be looked at as well. So I want to inspire you before you end up in hospital A&E again, clasping your abdomen in excruciating pain. I want to talk to that part of you that knows you need to do something differently, yet is terrified to move forward or even invest in yourself. That continual push-pull back and forth internally that causes the anxiety and conflict. I think many women with endometriosis are so unaware of their enormous potential and strength and the opportunity that lies within them, invariably because they're surrounded to one degree or another by purely poisonous and toxic people. I believe that they put a lot of energy into staying small and staying in the shadows, yet a part of them seeks to shine. Yet when they shine, toxic people around them shame them back into the shadows and the cycle ensues. It's like a seed. I'm going to encourage you to stop being a seed. Before that little bitty seed can grow into a big strong tree, do you know what it has to do? It has to grow. The very first thing it has to do is it has to go down into the ground. And this next bit, when I heard this story, it gave me shivers down my arms. This seed, when it has to go down into the ground, it has to be willing to cease to be a seed. In order for you to become everything you need to become, you must be willing to stop being what you have been so that you can become all that you can be. And so the seed goes down into the ground and it dies and it stops being a seed. It is no longer a seed. The seed grows up and becomes a beautiful big oak tree. That seed knew it had to change to become so much more than it was. Yet it was scared, but it went on faith, it trusted nature, it listened to its instincts, and it became so much more than it was. And let's say that this tree was growing on the edge of a cliff. And then one day, these two eagles were flying by. We'll call them Mummy Eagle and Daddy Eagle. And Daddy Eagle noticed this tree on the edge of a cliff and says, let's build a nest. I love that tree, he says. I'm going to build and make you a new nest. So he builds a nest and Mummy Eagle has these lovely little eaglets. Every day, Mummy Eagle and Daddy Eagle take off. They fly off and come back with food and sweep down to feed the eaglets. One day, one baby eaglet says, Mummy, can I learn to fly today? And the mummy says, not today, baby, not today. And every day the baby eaglet, who we'll call Ellie, asks to fly. Every single day, she's like, Mummy, can I learn to fly today? And then one day, a few weeks later, Mummy Eagle says, tomorrow I'm going to teach you how to fly, baby Ellie. And baby Ellie was so excited about being taught how to fly. She really sought to have change. The next morning, Mummy Eagle got up and said, do you want to fly? Of course, baby Ellie Eaglet was very excited and said yes and jumped on her mum's back. So jumps on her mum's back and was ecstatic. And Mummy Eagle steps out of the nest and starts to flap her wide, expansive wings and flies high into the sky. Baby Eaglet Ellie is screaming, higher mummy, this is so much fun. She was loving it. Then the next minute, the Mummy Eagle jolts to the right, away from the eaglet, and the eaglet is left in suspended animation in the air on her own for a split second to fly on her own. But Ellie lets out a massive scream whilst flapping her wings furiously. Mummy, come back, Mummy, come back, I'm scared. And right before Ellie was about to drop further, Mummy Eagle swooped back in underneath her little eaglet Ellie and secured her on her back again. And right before Ellie was about to drop further, Mummy Eagle, as I say, swooped back in. And Ellie was like, but Mummy, what were you doing to me? That was so scary. Why did you do that? And she gets back to the nest and whimpers and cries to her brothers and sisters, whatever you do, do not go on Mum's back. Next, she starts whimpering, I don't want to be an eagle. It's too scary. I want to be a chicken. Mummy Eagle laughs and encourages her the next day to go back out onto her back and gently pulls away again to encourage Ellie to fly. But Ellie is scared. I don't want to fly, Mummy. It's too scary. What if I fall? She doesn't want to fall, yet she has wings. She doesn't want to spread those wings in case she falls. So she goes back out on the third day with Mummy. This time, Mummy Eagle says that she totally believes in her and that she has all the resources and the equipment and feathers and wings to fly. She just has to believe it is possible. She just has to give all her energy to her wings and know that Mummy is there to catch her if she falls. So Ellie Eaglet climbs on her mummy's back and takes a deep breath and closes her eyes. She's clung on tight to her mummy's back and she can feel the wind getting colder and colder as they climb higher into the sky. Mummy Eagle even says, this is it, baby Ellie. I believe in you. Your time is now. And you are far more than you think you are. And staying in the nest for the rest of your life isn't going to help you spread your wings and fly. Our ego wishes for us to stay stuck in the nest or the velvet rut, but our soul wants us to fly and grow. So Mummy Eagle said, on the count of 3, Ellie, I will swing to the left and you will drop to the right. Trust your instincts, Ellie, and when you feel the air under your wings, fly like the wind. So Ellie squinted as she tried not to look at the drop to the ground that was beneath her. What if she failed? What if she couldn't fly? What if she fell flat to the floor? So the moment came and Mummy Eagle counted down. 1, 2, 3. Go, Ellie, go. Ellie braced herself and she felt the adrenaline and fear course through her plummeting body. Her weight and gravity pulled her hurtling towards the ground. She feared she might not ever see her mummy and daddy again. She feared she might never feel the cosy comfort of warmth and safety of the nest ever again and end up as dust on the ground. She screamed and she screamed and she flapped, fearing her end was near as she could feel her falling to the ground. Yet suddenly something strange happened. Slowly and quietly she felt the wind tickle her feathers and the flapping of her wings changed to a more succinct and controlled flap. What was happening, she wondered. A strange sensation took over her and she noticed that she was gaining altitude by flapping her wings in unison. The flapping motion then caused the air to flow faster over the top of her wings, and Ellie rose high into the sky. Ellie screamed to her mummy, "Look at me," and sang, "I believe I can fly." And she went on, "I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. I spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can fly." And Ellie glided through the air effortlessly, rising higher and higher until she touched the sky. And the moral of the story? Eagles learn to fly by falling. Even the eagle, before it goes up, has to go down. But you know what? Do you know what humans do? They stay in their nest, and that nest is called the circle of sameness. And when we start learning to fly and start falling, do we flap our wings 5 times as fast as we can? No, because we have a choice. And eagles do not have a choice. What percentage of eagles learn to fly? 100%. 100% of eagles learn to fly. And you know what percentage of people learn to fly in their lives and reach the heights they're destined to fulfill? Too few. And why? Because of the anticipation impact of hitting the ground. So instead of allowing our wings to work and stretch and reach the sky, we grab and hang on to the lowest branch of the tree. We crawl back into the nest, called the circle of sameness, called the comfort zone or the velvet rut, and we live the rest of our lives in it. If a seed has to go down before it goes up, and an eagle has to fall down before it can fly, if you're pretending that you want your physical health to go up, are you now willing to allow your bank balance to go down first? If you're serious about advancing in your physical health and your life, then make this decision. Change your life, your family's life, and make that decision. I've heard it said that most people believe their doubts and doubt their fears. You don't want to be one of those people. You want to learn to believe in yourself and become the kind of person that can fly as high as Ellie. So I hope that you find that little story inspiring, because on this endometriosis journey, and when people say endometriosis is not a life sentence, the next question is, well, what does that mean? Who would you be without endometriosis? What has endometriosis taught you? And when you start thinking in those terms and start asking those questions, that's when your life can really open up for you in new ways. And as we come to the end of 2020, I want you to really think about what the impact and power and control that you have over your new life and the choices and the decisions that you make every day. What is your internal narrative? What is the language and the conversations that you're having with yourself? Are they cruel and unkind and critical? Or are they questions that are coming up making you ponder on what the next step that is right for you, so that 2021 is a year of putting the condition into remission or believing it's a life sentence? Because endometriosis is not a life sentence. You have so much more power than you believe. To your health.
Thanks for listening to Heal Endometriosis Naturally with Wendy K. Laidlaw. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and rate us. If you're interested in learning more, you can download your top 5 jumpstart tips at healendometriosisnaturally.com and jump on the VIP email list. Remember to keep you number one. The world needs a healthy you.